All right, so I just got done finishing recording a video and the audio was absolute garbage. Like it sounded like I was behind, I don't know, like static and it was coming in and out. And I noticed that initially when I started up my mic, that if I was sitting here quietly, that it was also picking up background noise. So somehow the filters that I use in order to keep my audio clear got turned off. I don't know why. Maybe it knew that video was maybe too explosive. But let's do the video as I intended to do. I did 15 minutes of tangent in the last video and 10 minutes on script. So today we're just going to go straight script. You ever notice how capitalism turns everything into a subscription? Even love. You can't just date someone anymore. You've got to finance them like a used car with emotional mileage and bad credit. Half the people I meet don't want a relationship. They want a cosigner. And the rest, they're driving around with the check engine light on, pretending it's just for ambience. Yes, that's how most of us are. Mello today called me shallow, and this is the third video that I'm making today on this because it really bothered me. It triggered me in a sense that I want what I want. I want fit. I want financially well off. I want someone with a career and that's compatible. And guess what? I've spent my entire life looking for that person. And all I've gotten are relationships that, just like a used car and poor people, prole cars, you get into the relationship, you run it into the ground, and then you get another one. Same thing for the rest of your life. And my mom's the perfect example of this. I have 5 brothers and sisters, all have different fathers. Luckily, all of them know who their dad is. I'm the only one that didn't get to find out. Like, it didn't matter. At the end of the day, it really didn't matter because my life was going to go to crap anyway. I thought that going to college and playing that ticket, that lottery ticket of going to college was going to assure that I wouldn't be in the mess that I'm in right now. With a horrible life, never had a career job, always been hourly, always been stuck at the Dollar Tree that gets renamed every year to something else, right? Every year it's Pound Town, Death Star, Surf City, or Evil Corp, which pick one. But it's always the same. And there's almost no way around it because if a job came with a check engine light, the second that you signed up for that job, the check engine light would come on. In fact, every person that I've had working with me has had this one sentence to say very quickly. Oh, I know what this place is about. You're like, oh, God. I know what this place is about. And that just goes to show how quickly they figure out that the Dollar Tree isn't good for their career. And most, well, they'll try to run away, but they know that the Dollar Tree next door, because the Dollar Tree is literally every place that you can work in any sort of shopping center, right? They're not going to pay you any more if you go next door. Same thing with the mall. Every single store, there may be 150 stores at your local mall, if there are local malls still left by your house, but they all pay the same. You can't escape. And we're all in the shopping mall of America when it comes to careers. There is no such thing as that anymore. And the relationship aspect of it, it's the same. Once you find yourself sleeping on the couch next to someone that you used to sleep next to, that's the relationship settling into its final form. It's not that it's over, it's just when you've gone through so many people as I have, you get to a point where you realize it's like, well, I can't fix this. The engine's busted. All 4 tires have donuts. It's time to walk away. And in the background, you see it explode. Like you're walking away and you can hear the explosion. You can feel the heat on the back of your head. That's the end of the relationship. And then you can choose to get into another one. And some people do. This is the amazing part that I don't understand is that some people will get into one toxic relationship after another. This isn't your romantic endeavors. Whether you have a romantic interest in someone or just a regular interest in another person. Sometimes when we look at people, it's not so much that we're thinking about what it's going to be like, giving them the in and out. It's more like, let's take a test drive and see what this is like. And sometimes the test drive is more than enough to let you know that this isn't going to work out long term. But I know people who get into 1 month, 2 month, 3 month relationships max. They're 30 years old. They've never been in a real relationship. They've just been jerked around, buying into lemon cars over and over again. I once had a girl say this to me: relationships with men are like cars. All the good ones are taken, and only the handicapped ones are left behind. And you kind of like think to yourself, is that what all women feel like? If you get into a relationship with a undesirable man, is it just going to be that? Is it just going to be the pounding and then it's over? Yes. Talking point number one. Everyone keeps saying you just have to lower your standards, as if settling for less is a moral virtue now. You're not ambitious anymore. You're unrealistic. You're not single because people are toxic. You're single because you still believe love shouldn't feel like financing a lemon with bad credit. If you're in a relationship with a 30% interest rate and it's for 6 years and the car's already 20 years old, you're in bad shape, people. And there are people that have to take that relationship. If you're a person that is a not a good looking person, you're wearing a uniform to work with a name tag and a hat, and you want more out of life, you're not going to get it. Life isn't that way. Life is cruel. Life wants to hurt you at every single turn, whether it's financially, love wise, whether it's your employment. Life always wants to kick you in the balls. That's what life does. Unfortunately, there's no way of getting out of the way. Because unless you don't have to deal with this, and that means you don't have to work, other people work for you, and that's how you get rich. There's no other way of fixing this system. It is the way that it is, and it will always be the way that it is. It's broken right from the get go. Dating sites don't want you to meet someone, they want you to keep paying money to be on the dating site. That's what a regular job is today. It's not paying you enough to live, but you have to keep going back because there are no other options. The available work in this country is becoming harder and harder to get. When even Walmart is saying that it's not hiring, you know the job economy is terrible. And imagine you're a Walmart worker. Every day, the only other people that you see are other Walmart workers, other losers. You go into the bathroom and you see your coworkers in the mirror. You start blending into them. Because if there's one thing about our retail workers, they're usually ugly, they're usually short, and they're fat. Some of them did go to college. I met quite a few people that went to college and tried that route. It didn't work out for them. College is that lottery ticket that they have to sell you. Because remember, you can't win if you don't play. And that's what capitalism and the American dream are. They're a lottery ticket that some people win by virtue of friends, family, and connections, but the vast majority of the people lose at this casino because it's not a guarantee. And it never was from the very get go. It never was a guarantee that you were going to win at love or finances. The vast majority of people, like myself, lose at both. And we're in denial for a lot of our lives that being lifelong single and lifelong alone is a very hard place to be. But millions of men are out there in that same position. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go to get a good job. They don't know where to go meet a good person. They're stuck doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results with the love that they're seeking because it doesn't exist in the way that you want it to. If you're working a shift at the Dollar Tree right now, it's Sunday afternoon, and you know that you're not going to get off until it's closing, you know you're stuck there. They may not physically hold you there. There isn't a chain that's holding you there at that job, but there is something that is holding you at that job. It's called food and shelter. Today, while I was waiting for Mello to get something done, I sat down and I asked ChatGPT one simple question. Why do we live in a world where we allow certain individuals to use inflation on rent and food. And it came back that it was simply greed. Because, in my opinion, rent and food are two standards, two human standards that everyone should be entitled to. When Mello and I were leaving the fish store today, because I got some more shrimp, there was a guy on my side of the car that obviously had gone completely insane. He was sitting in some bushes, just talking to the bushes. Unless he was seeing an imaginary friend, the Arizona sun got to him and cooked his brain. But you could tell he slept in those bushes last night too. That's where we're getting to. Is America is losing its mind because we don't know what we're supposed to be doing. Are we supposed to settle for a car that's going to blow up? Yes. Yes, you are. Because because it's unattainable for you doesn't mean that they're not going to keep selling you that 30% interest rate on a car that's not worth it, on a car that they know is no good. But that's all you have access to. Talking point number 2. We grew up thinking adulthood meant freedom, but all it really meant was getting stuck in contracts, rental, employment, emotional. Contracts, rental, emotional, and employment. The modern relationship is just like a used car. Looks fine from far away, smells weird up close, and the second you sign the papers, everything starts to fall apart. Today I was at the gym, and there was a girl there that was super attractive, right? Right next to a guy that smelled straight up like an elephant's butt. I don't know if it was feet, I don't know if it was alcohol or bad breath or a combination of all those things, but it clearly showed. You have divine beauty on one side, and 5 feet away, you have a gargoyle of a man who thinks that he should be banging it out with that chick that was there in her yoga pants and super fit and blonde hair and blue eyes. That's the contrast in America. She represents the American dream, and he represents the American failure. Hell, I'm just looking at him from the outside, and I can see who would stand being near that guy. I mean, I went by him just to grab a rope to do face pulls because I love doing face pulls. Are my favorite rear delt exercise for some reason. I just love the way that it squeezes them. And I mean, I was just taken aback about how terrible this guy stank. But also at the same time, I could slightly tilt my head and see human perfection. That's what I want. But guess what I get? I get the gargoyle. And I can't get out of the way of the gargoyle because that's what's available to me. That's that lemon car that you're driving, that you and I both drive, that doesn't have any air conditioning. It's got 4 bald tires. You can't afford to put insurance on it. And it's only one day of leaving you stranded on the side of the road. In fact, since I've already done this video once, my conclusion's actually pretty funny. So we're coming back to the stranded on the side of the road thing. Talking point number 3. People call you alone like it's an insult, but I've met more peace in solitude than most people find in marriage. Being single isn't loneliness. It's refusing to merge lanes with someone who's already driving on a spare tire, pretending it's stability because some of us would rather walk than sit in the passenger seat of someone else's piece of junk car. Just because you're sitting in a BMW doesn't mean that you're making it. It means that you still have, like, you're holding on to some sort of luxury that's not real. A lot of people do this with their relationships. It's not real. And you are going to run it into the ground. And they may leave you, they may not leave you. But that car is going to be in the background of your story. Because it's simply put, it's not realistic for you to be successful. It's not. It's the American lottery ticket was always dangled out there so you would participate. Just like the relationship that you want so badly. If I could have walked up to that hot chick today, she had everything that I could possibly want. The first thing she would have done is look at me and be like, "Ugh, don't talk to me." It's like, why would you even think that you have the right to even look at me? That's how most women are. It's like, okay, well, I mean, you're a sub 5 guy, you're 5 feet tall, and you're 300 pounds. That's what you are to the American dream. You're that guy. You're in no universe and no timeline would you ever be able to be successful. It's not allowed. And you ask yourself then, if I was meant to live this life this bad, why would someone sell me this? Why not just not exist? In fact, I was telling Mello this today. It's like, if I had a say in whether or not I was going to be born, if I was going to be an abortion, I would have been the first baby to raise my hand. It's like, okay, I can clearly see my parents aren't rich. That's the number one factor. I was born to a single mom in a rural area of the world, no running water, no electricity, and your mom's 15 years old. What chance do you have at being successful at that point? You're going to live a life of suffering, of poverty, and injustice. You're never going to get anywhere good because there's never going to be a person who's going to pull you up. Never. Except all you're going to do is fail at everything you do, like I've done my entire life. I have failed at every single thing that I have tried to do. I consider myself to be a grade A failure with a giant L on my forehead and a giant stone that I have to drag everywhere I go called student loan debt. That's who I am. A person who was fed a lie and now is suffering the injustice of having to work at the Dollar Tree. All right, let's get into our conclusion. This is actually pretty funny. So yeah, maybe I'm single, but at least I'm not sitting in someone else's busted luxury car pretending the smell of burning oil is romance. Because love shouldn't come with a repair bill, and self-respect shouldn't be optional equipment. If that makes me shallow, fine. At least I'm not stranded on the side of the highway waiting for a tow truck named Settling. Boom. If I was going to say, mic drop, that would be it right there. Settling by the side of the road for a tow truck named Settling. This is what Americans are expected to do right now. You're expected to settle. You're expected to eat that hamburger that tastes like grade A rear end, grade A booty, your food, your job, and where you live. Everything has that taste. Remember, smells weird up close isn't just applicable to that used car you don't want to buy. It's applicable to where you can live and also to where you can work. It definitely smells weird up close. Like I had to get used to that smell of, I guess it would be 20-year-old carpet from an old call center. Carpet that you know that that smell is something that they'll never be able to get out. Because you just don't. And it's that stale air that gets me every time. There's just something about the low-level workplace that's just, it's not good for you. And when you get into that relationship and you go into first gear and you're like, wait a minute, okay, maybe I can make this work. And then you go into second gear and you're like, oh, like that grinding. Then you go into third gear and one of your tires comes flying off on the highway and you're like, uh-oh, I'm in big trouble. This thing's about to turn into a mushroom cloud. It's time to bail out. And even though you're going 55 miles an hour down the highway, you still jump out of the window and end up with less injuries than if you rode that relationship into the gutter. And that's where I'm going to leave this video. This video is a lot funnier than my last one. I went off on horrible tangents, and I'm kind of glad now that the audio got destroyed. Act of God, people. Act of God.